Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members of the body, for the opportunity to present to you and talk about House Bill 226 today. A few years ago, I was given a lot of thought after serving here in this chamber for a while, served on the Education Committee, and I asked myself the question, what is it that we can do that will really move the bar? What can we do to improve education for all our students in Kentucky? And the answer I came up with was early literacy, particularly early literacy for students and their score, how they score when they exit the third grade before they go to fourth grade. And you might ask me the question, why early literacy? You may not realize this or not, but there is students who are not scoring proficient on early literacy when they enter the fourth grade are 4 times more likely to not graduate from high school. One of the most disturbing correlations that I'm aware of, there is actually a correlation between that reading proficiency score and incarceration. Let me repeat that. There is a correlation between how students score on their third grade reading proficiency scores and incarceration. Our Kentucky Performance Rating for Educational Progress, more commonly known as K-PREP, in 2015, the scores for our third grade students who scored proficient or distinguished was 54.3%. By 2019, we saw that number decline to 52.7%. You know, over the last 5 years, 118,000 Kentucky students have left third grade not proficient readers. The K-PREP was not given in the next fiscal year, but in fiscal year 21, the K-PREP score went down from 52.7% to 29.8%. Now, I think we all recognize that this was significantly because of the lack of students in the classroom with a teacher there with them, and that shows that even more significantly. The national, and I prepared this long speech. The National Assessment for Educational Programs, known as NAEP, it's 33, in their results, 33% of Kentucky students in 18-19 scored below basic on the grade 4 reading assessment. I'm not alone in having an interest in improving our early literacy education. There was an op-ed in the January 28th edition of the Lexington Herald-Leader. I want to share a couple of comments that the writer made in that op-ed piece. The writer says, "I have found one clear truth. Early literacy is the foundation for learning and for life." The writer goes on to say, "We must ensure that every Kentucky student can read at the highest level by the end of third grade. Students must learn to read from kindergarten through third grade so that they will be able to read, to learn in school, and throughout the course of their lives." That op-ed piece was written by a member of the Pritchard Committee and also the Kentucky Secretary for the Education and Workforce Cabinet, Derek Ramsey. Of course, I know him more when he's played football at UK, but he's had a very successful career. And he is someone whose opinion I respect. So what does this legislation do? You're going to see a couple of terms in here a lot: evidence-based and multi-tiered levels of support. Evidence-based is actually defined in the legislation, and it aligns with ESSA, the Every Student Succeed Act's definitions in federal law. Beginning in the 23-24 school year, any student in grades K through 3 who are identified as needing accelerated progress toward proficient performance in reading will be provided with intensive interventions that address individual differences and enables the student to receive in-school supports and possible enrichment for increasing a student's rate of progress toward proficient performance in reading. Schools may use Title I or Title III funds and also IDEA funds to support struggling students depending on eligibility. Schools may also use Title II funds to provide professional development for teachers outside of the state-provided professional learning and coaching supports. What state-supported strategies will we have, or do we have, and will add to with this legislation? You all, I'm sure, are familiar with the Read to Achieve grants. Those funds are not impacted by this legislation. They were included in House Bill 1, House Committee Substitute 1, in our budget to support students with Tier 2, Tier 3 accredited learning needs. If funds are appropriated, statewide professional learning is provided to support teachers with evidence-based reading instruction, intervention, and instruction strategies. It goes on, if funds are appropriated, reading coaches are equipped to provide job embedding training and supports for teachers, schools, and districts. And I know that term, if funding is provided, is very worrisome for us. And I'm here to share with you today that House Bill 1, House Committee Substitute 1, the budget bill that we passed, includes $11 million in each year of the biennium to go toward this effort for the Read to Succeed Act. In my conversations with Commissioner Glass, the Kentucky Department of Education, they have also told me they intend to use $10 million in ARPA funds to go toward this initiative and see it succeed. We need to have early intervention in instruction. Universal statewide literacy screening progress monitoring in grades K through 3 will be included in this. Early identification of students in K through 3 needing accelerated programs toward proficient performance in reading and intervention requires KDE-approved training to support implemented diagnostic, screening, informative assessment tools. Supplemented reading instruction using evidence-based reading, intervention, and instruction strategies that emphasize phonetic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, and other instructional strategies aligned to the Kentucky Academic Standards for reading and writing. In case you're not for sure what the term phonetic awareness means, I have the definition and statute for you. It means the ability to recognize that a spoken word consists of a sequence of individual sounds and the ability to manipulate individual sounds in speaking. This is crucial in our early literacy instruction. The legislation would have a reading improvement plan, specialized instruction, intervention, and support for those students identified as needing help with that. There will also be a reading improvement team that includes the parents or guardians, teachers, and other school personnel to help oversee that program. There's family and community engagement in this legislation, partnering with KDE, the libraries and archives, the Governor's Office for Early Childhood, KET, and local schools to implement high-quality, evidence-based, year-round programming materials and activities for elementary-aged children in the areas of reading. Parents or guardians, notification and regular communications are required in this legislation, with parents of students in grade 3 identified as needing accelerated programs in reading, including Read at Home resources, and a written quarterly progress report containing the information in the Reading Improvement Plan. This legislation also addresses their teacher certification program for early education in regards to early literacy. Beginning in the 22-23 school year, all education preparation programs leading to professional certification in interdisciplinary early childhood education or elementary education shall include the part of the curriculum instructed in evidence-based reading instruction and programming related to the areas of, you're going to hear these 5 terms again, phonetic awareness, phonics, fluency, comprehension, and vocabulary. These are referred to as the 5 essential components of reading. Sometimes people refer to these as the science of reading. Beginning in year 24-25, all new teachers seeking certification in these early education fields must successfully pass an approved teacher preparation test that includes an evaluation of reading instruction, knowledge, and skills. Mr. Speaker, would you have the clerk report House Committee Substitute 1?
Clerk, please report.
House Committee Substitute 1 to House Bill 226.
Gentleman from Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Committee Substitute 1 addresses two areas. On page 6 of the bill, there are two references to school board. That language is changed to superintendent. Also, House Bill 93, which was sponsored by Representative Derek Lewis. He's not. My apologies. My apologies, Mr. Leader. The gentleman from Laurel sponsored House Bill 93, and he's not able to be here today. I spoke to him earlier. But to explain what this adds to House Bill 226, it deals with the RTA grant program. There were some changes initially to the RTA grant process and application this year that caused some concerns. It specifies in statute that those funds can be used for interventionists. It's the main thing that it does, and that the local schools can use those funds subject to evaluation by KDE. So, Mr. Chairman, if there are no questions to that, I'll move for passage of House Committee Substitute 1.
Motion is for the adoption of House Committee Substitute 1. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by voting aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. No. House Committee Substitute 1 is adopted. Gentleman from Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We'll be happy to answer any questions, but at this time I move for passage of House Bill 226 as amended by House Committee Substitute 1.